Alabama, September 2005. My assignment? A magazine story about poverty in Alabama. Real names, real people. Due in 2 weeks, 1,500 words. High-stepping, but I knew where to look. I'd worked at walk-in social service agencies, taught school in rural Alabama, and clerked at debtor's court. I cast a big net. Soon, the director of a woman's shelter suggested I meet someone on her staff. That's how I came to know Ginger McNeil. We met at a sandwich shop. A woman dressed in lime and brown linen dashed through the door. I spotted her briefcase and guessed she was Ginger, hurrying from court in the next county. The woman stopped short. The tentative expression that crossed her face as she scanned the room turned into a broad smile when she saw me waving from a back corner. Her brown page boy bounced against her collar as she made her way toward me, hand out, halfway through an introduction even before she reached my table. "I'm late," she said, dropping into her chair. "But at least I'm not in jail." I did a double take. "Auto theft." She dropped that bomb with a straight face. "In the courthouse parking lot, under the nose of the sheriff." Her eyes were the color of coffee. I spotted mischief in them and smiled. She leaned forward in her seat and lowered her voice. "As I was racing to come here, my key wouldn't fit in the ignition. Then I heard a tap on the window, and there stood the judge. I was in her car, not mine. I ran before the law came." She threw her head back and laughed at herself. Her words flowed, but she hung on to mine. She talked about her work with abused women, and I could read on her face the satisfaction in it. I ate my chicken salad. "But abuse isn't about poverty." I didn't know. We talked through lunch and refills of iced tea. Pleasant chatter, but the clock was ticking toward my deadline. I needed to find a source for my story. Just as I thought we were finished, Ginger said, "I'm a former client of the shelter. I didn't have 2 dimes the day they took me in." I settled back into my chair. "I lived in a cabin in the woods, too poor to afford electricity, and too afraid of my husband to leave. I even made my own soap." "You made soap?" "Yeah, from hog fat. You have to butcher the hog first." She told me she slaughtered, butchered, and canned, shingled roofs and bush-hogged land. Whatever it took for her and her 2 sons to survive. "And you were afraid?" "He hit me." This woman with a briefcase. What I heard clashed hard against the image before me. She drew a map to the cabin. 20 miles north up the Natchez Trace, left on one dirt road, right on the next. I promised to meet her there the following Saturday. The first road I found quickly. Then I topped a rise and looked for the second. Nothing but scrub oaks, piney woods, and red dirt lay ahead. 3 times I drove back and forth before I spotted tire ruts between 2 scrawny oaks. Then the open gate appeared against the undergrowth. The road wasn't hidden, but nothing marked or announced it. Had I not known there was a road and a house and once a family living back in the trees? That thought played in my mind even after I returned home late that afternoon. The road dipped, rose, and circled through the trees to a small clearing in the midst of sheds and a cabin. Ginger had heard my car and she bounded toward me. No briefcase today. Instead, she wore jeans and heavy boots. The cabin behind her was a cracker box with a tin roof and board and batten walls. Leggy red geraniums strained out of a clay pot by its front door. Ginger ushered me inside past the black wall-to-wall wood stove that dominated the first room, and through 2 bedrooms hardly larger than their beds. Cozy. Neat. We popped cans of Diet Coke and stepped out into a dry day with no breeze on this last weekend of September.